Hello and welcome to The Beat, Black Experiences in Art and Theater. My name is Sydney Edwards.
And I'm Talib Hardy.
And today we have with us Stori Ayers. Stori, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. Stori, we know each other through acquaintances, and that's how a lot of this theater game works, is networking and who knows who, right?
Absolutely.
So would you tell me a little bit about what you do in theater? How do you describe yourself as a creative?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I said, because I'm a multi-hyphenate,
Yes.
I just try to get down to the essence and the core of what I do, and I simply just say I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories, and I tell them however the story requires me or ask of me to tell it. So, sometimes I read a piece and there's a particular role or character that really speaks to me, and I want to act in that, in that show. But another time I read it, and as I'm reading it, I see something bigger. I see a broader vision and how the story is told and how it moves, and it speaks to another side of me, and I go, I want to direct that piece,
Yes.
And then there's other times when I read a piece and I'm like, it isn't a specific life that I want to breathe life into, a specific character I want to breathe life into, or a vision that I have for it, but I believe in it. And I think that it should be out there. And that's sort of when I put my producer hat on.
Okay.
And I go to other creators and I'm like, how can I support you in getting this out there? What can I do? How can I help? And so I just, I love stories. I like to tell stories, and I let the story tell me what it wants of me, how I can best serve it.
Oh, what a beautiful way to think about things. Right on.
Yeah. Because I've always believed that, like, the characters choose you.
Yeah.
The story choose you. Like, we think we're in control, but I have found that every piece that every story that I've told, every piece that I've worked on, in hindsight, it was exactly what I needed for that time. And I learned something from the experience. I learned something from the characters. I grow in my journey as a human, as an artist, and in my walk. And so I've always looked at it like, they're choosing me. They're telling me what to do. And it's all out of my hands, really.
Yes. It's very cosmic. I feel you on that.
I want to be in control, but I'm not,
Right.
not.
So how did you get started, being a storyteller?
Yeah, your journey.
Well, that's an interesting one, because I didn't know anything about theater. Like, I grew up in DC.
Okay.
I went to DC public schools all the way up until high school, and I went to a private school out in Maryland. But that none of my schools had like a theater program, did like drama or plays or anything. So that wasn't anything that I was introduced to.
In DC? Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we never, none of the schools had plays. None of the schools had theaters that I went to. And it's very strange to go 12 years without that. A lot of trips to the Smithsonian, though. I think I've been to all the Smithsonian museums. But theater just wasn't a part of my discourse. It wasn't a part of my life until I got to college. So going into college, I wanted to study broadcast journalism. I wanted to be a weather girl because I was a huge fan of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes!
And Hillary Banks. Hillary Banks was my favorite character, and she was a weather girl. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a meteorologist like Hillary. And so that's what I wanted to do. And so that's what I was studying in school. I was playing on the basketball team. I was studying broadcast journalism. And my second year of college, I was talking to a friend of mine, really, really close friend of mine. And I was telling her what happened at the club the night before. She wasn't there, but I was there. I didn't miss a night, right? So I was there, and I was just telling her all the drama, and she was just listening to me. And when I finished, she said, "You should audition for a play." Oh. And I was like, "Oh, what?" And she was like, "You should audition for a play." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Did you hear what I said?" And then, I just got back to my story. But for some reason, that was my second semester of my first year. That stuck with me. And I just heard her voice. I remembered the summer after my first year of college thinking about that advice. And I remember when I started my second year, that fall semester, when I got back to campus, I went to Mary Baldwin. At the time, it was Mary Baldwin College. Now it's Mary Baldwin University in Virginia. When I got back to school, I just remember what you said, and I went looking for the theater building. And I was like, I know there has to be a theater building. And I literally just went looking for it. And I stumbled upon the theater building, and I was walking through the halls, and these two girls were in the hallway. And I asked them, like, is this a theater building? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, do y'all do plays here? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, well, like, how do you get into like one of the plays? And they were like, you have to audition. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, I didn't know anything. And this is my second year of college. I had no idea. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, okay, so you have to do a monologue. And there was like this script library, and they took me into the library and they pulled out the first play I held in my hands, which was A Raisin in the Sun.
Yeah.
And they gave me the play, and I didn't know the play, I didn't know the writer, and they showed me Beneatha's monologue about wanting to be a doctor. And they were like, so you would learn something like this, and you memorize it, and then you perform it, and that's your audition. And I was like, okay. And I didn't tell anyone I was doing this. So I memorized it, I went in the audition, I performed it, and I booked the role.
Oh my God!
And I was like, what? Okay. And so I did the play, and while I was doing the play, I could feel a sense of belonging. That's the best way that I can describe it. I knew that everything felt right. Like, I just knew that this is where I was supposed to be. And during that production, I auditioned for the next one, and I booked that one, and the next play after that. And that was my confirmation. And so I had to decide whether I was going to be in basketball practice or rehearsal. And I chose rehearsal. And so I quit the basketball team, changed my major. I did everything within a week span.
Oh my God.
Then like no hesitation, I started doing doing theater, and I did those first two shows, and then it was all uphill from there. I haven't stopped doing theater since then.
Oh my good, that is cosmic, Story. That is cosmic.
Yeah, that's sort of how I got into it. And I guess I will say this, I'll add this on. When I graduated from high school, I did this program with Channel 9 News, where they took they took a group of reporters and one student. So it was as high school seniors going into college who wanted to all do journalism. And so they took a certain number of students to be the reporters, you had your sports guy, your weather girl, your all those traditional roles, right? The lead, the head anchors, all of that stuff. And we would sort of study in our lanes all summer. And at the end of the summer on the Channel 9 news set, we would record a full news segment. And I was studying meteorology, and I was working with the anchorman at Channel 9 at the time. And what I remember from that summer is every time I would go to report the news and practice with him in front of the green screen, he kept telling me I was too dramatic. And I remember him saying that, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? There's a storm. We have to tell the people. We have to warn them. And he was like, no, you can't. He was like, you can't do that. If you do it that way, everyone will go and buy up all the water. People will leave town. You can't be that dramatic about, a little bit of rain. And I was like, no, this looks like a lot of rain. Do you not see this? It's moving across the country. And he's like, you just can't do it that way. And they even sent me to Fox 5, who the weather woman there was a Black woman. And I know now in hindsight, that they sent me to that black woman to see if she can calm me down. They didn't know how to tell this little black girl that she was, doing too much. And so she couldn't stop me. Nobody could stop me. I was definitely the most entertaining.
You were unstoppable.
On that news segment at the end of the summer. But I never forgot that. There was something about that experience, though, I won the scholarship that summer. Like it was a positive experience, but there was something in it that felt like there's something in me that doesn't quite fit right in this medium. Yeah. It wasn't it wasn't a perfect match. And when I was doing theater, I was like, oh, this is the match. This is where no one's ever going to tell me I'm being too dramatic.
You can feel it. Yes.
So, yeah.
That is so
That's
cool.
how I got into it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, this is funny. Girl, I thought I was going to be a journalist, too. I really did. And then I realized how much I hated academic writing, honey. And I was like, this is not a good fit. This isn't it. Mm-mm.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you that part.
Okay, so Stori, what do you think are some misconceptions people might have about the multi-hyphenated life?
Misconceptions. Well, I know, you know what? This is the biggest one. That if you do one thing, they'll only see you as that one thing. And so if you want to do something else, they won't be able to see you as that because you introduce yourself as this. And I do think that comes from a time in our industry where that was probably true. Yeah. But I can say from personal experience and from what I've witnessed in other multi-hyphenates, that's not true anymore. Yeah. And I would say when with stars like Issa Rae and what's that sister who created Abbott Elementary? Yeah. Yes, Quinta, and like there's a lot of what do we call it? Celebrity multi-hyphenates now that are creating this this making it more acceptable, I guess, and more where you can go, oh yes, you can be a writer and director and a producer. You can be a dancer and you can be a choreographer and an actor and a playwright or something, and a cinematographer, like whatever. Yeah. Like there's more. It's becoming more and more encouraged and celebrated. Yeah. And so I would say that sort of former way of seeing people as one thing and in this box is a misconception for now. And I would also add that the pandemic actually has really shaken that up from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. When you couldn't be an actor all of a sudden, or you couldn't be a director because, the theater was shut down. There were the people that were multi-hyphenates. A lot of us, I actually made the most money I ever made during the pandemic.
You same.
Which is crazy. I was stressed out working all the time, but that I looked at my tax returns like that's the most money I made. I made more money during that time because of the multi-hyphenates. Mm-hmm. And it's that I have attached to and all the relationships, all the things that were possible during that time. And so there was something even in that was celebrated. And so I would say that's like the biggest misconception. Mm-hmm. That for me, it's really important to keep talking about because it's just changing the narrative and creating more possibility and more ownership of who you are and how you want to move in this through this industry. So I would say that's a big one.
Yeah, even for people you don't suspect, right? Sometimes you don't even know people are multi-hyphenates because you know them for one thing. So like, I got to meet Dominique Morisseau. She came to Cleveland. It must have been like 2019. Because there were like 3 different theaters producing her work. She was like, it was a Dominique City that year. And I remember, I went to this workshop she did, or this lunch, and she did an interview, and I said, hey, Dominique, we love your plays, but do you still act? Do you get to act anymore? And she was really appreciative of that question because she's like, people don't ask her that. They keep assuming that all she does is right now. And I was like, yeah, even the, 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 even
Yeah. And it was so interesting. Dominique was asking me to help her self-tape the other day for something that she's auditioning for. So yeah, I mean, like, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would also say there's this idea. I remember someone saying to me, like, aren't you worried about being a jack of all trades and a master of none?
We just had that talk with Bajorn. Yep.
And I was like, well, first, let's finish that quote, because it is often never finished, I believe, because somebody who can only do one thing great was like, let me just cut off the rest of that quote and so that I don't feel bad. But the full quote, the full phrase is a jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one.
Yes.
So the full phrase actually encourages having more than one trade. And those that have more than one trade are oftentimes masters and stronger in their trades than a person that's just a master of one. Yeah. And that's the full phrase. So, I mean, there's also this misconception that, like, you know, you can only be a master of one thing at a time, or really, if you try to pursue multiple things, you'll never be a master. You're just you're a jack or something like that. And so I would say that is a lie. That is not true at all. Not true. And I look at one of my mentors, Ruben Santiago Hudson, who is, I would say, if you just look at this year alone, he is acted on Broadway, written on Broadway, directed on Broadway, and just finished filming on TV a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he is someone who is a master in his craft, with many different hats and working at the highest level, and so I just, I look to people like him and Regina King, who most people don't even know is a brilliant director.
Yes.
You can just be watching TV and be like, oh, wow, this was directed by Regina King, this episode on this show. I mean, she directs on so many shows, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
But most people may just know her as an actor, but she's a brilliant director as well. And so all of those folks encourage me.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you've got Confederates going on right now.
Yeah, in its final week.
In its final week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. And I'm sure this is a great project for you. I like, this is the first time I've heard Confederates. Was this a world premiere?
This was a world premiere.
Yeah.
This is she started writing it pre-pandemic a while ago. Actually, when Pipeline was premiering, she first started writing Confederates. But yeah, this is a world premiere.
Awesome. So I'm sure this is probably one of your favorite projects. I mean, I just love Dominique Morisseau's writing, man. But the question is, I digress. What are some of your favorite projects that you've been a part of, and why? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Actually, one of my favorite projects, I would say the favorite project is actually a Dominique Morisseau play.
Okay.
When I was in graduate school, and first, let me stop before I answer this question. I just want to say, I remember when I had decided that I needed to go to graduate school and I was looking for graduate programs.
Yeah.
And I looked at the University of Louisville, like, this program, isn't this program the only program that has like a concentration at the master level in African American theater?
Yes, that's my program. That's the podcast you are on.
That's the program.
We have the only graduate certificate in African American theater in the country.
That is what it was. Yep, That's it right there. I missed the deadline.
Oh, we just went online, by the way. You can get your cert online now.
Oh, you can.
But
you will have to do a whole. But you can't just get the certification in African American theater, though, right?
Yes, you can.
So wait, I have a BA and an MFA already, but I can go to school online and just get that certification.
Yes.
You're lying.
I am not.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, I'm finna go look this up right after this.
I will send you all the information. I promise. I will send it to you.
Please send it to me. Because, oh my goodness, I remember when I was looking at grad school years ago, I was looking at this program. This school was on my list.
Yeah.
And I missed my deadline to get my application in.
Oh, man.
Isn't that crazy?
That is...
But what drew me was this certification, this concentration in African American theater. And I'll tell you why. Really quick story. Yeah. When I went to a predominantly white all-women's college.
Me too.
And when Really? Where?
Yeah. I went to William Peace University. It was Peace College in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wow.
Tiny, all mostly white women's college. Yes.
Yeah, that's Mary Baldwin in Virginia.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Well, I don't know what your education was like, but because I was so late coming to theater, I really didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And everything that I learned in college. And when I graduated, and in 3 years, because that first year I wasn't a theater major. So when I graduated, I took an internship at Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company in Atlanta. Oh. And my first day on the of my internship that summer, I was in the office and I kept hearing this name all the time. They were preparing for this conference and I kept hearing this name and I didn't know who the name was. So I just said, young, I graduated at 20, so I'm 20 years old. Young, just like asking questions out loud without any reservation. I don't even think Google was as popular. I don't know. But I'm sitting in the office and I said, so could someone tell me who's August Wilson?
Listen, no, same experience. Same experience.
The whole office stopped. The entire office stopped. And Kenny Leon stopped dead in his tracks.
Ooh.
And he turned and he looked at me. And he looked at the production manager, her name's Lisa Watson, and he said, help her.
Ooh. Ooh.
And then he just kept walking. And I knew I did something wrong. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? And so Lisa was like, baby, didn't you just say you graduated from a theater program with a theater degree? I said, yeah, I did. And like, I was, and she was like, and you don't know who August Wilson is? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I don't, I'm sorry. Like I got real scared. Yeah. And she said, okay, so we're going to stop your internship today. I was about to cry, y'all. She said, we're going to stop your internship today. Okay. She came over to the little intern desk I was sitting at and she sat the box set on the desk and said, these are his plays. You come in here for the next 10 days. You read one play a day and you go home. And you start on this end of the box set. It's a box and they're all in there together. Yep. You start here in 1904 and you make your way through. And that's what I did for the next 10 days. I started that day with Jim of the Ocean. Each day I came in, I read the play, and I had one of the most, I was I cried every day. I was furious.
Yeah.
I remember being so angry. I also remember feeling so inspired and amazed by these stories. It was such an enriching 10 days. Yeah. But I was so angry. And I remember saying to myself that my children, one of the number one things that I will be sure to teach them starting in the first grade is that you cannot depend on anyone, not your parents, not me, not your school, to teach you what you need to know about what you want to do. That you have to take ownership over your education. Yes. Because we will fail you. And I felt so failed and so angry, but then so empowered and you know what? Get out there, learn what you need to know. And that was like a whole nother summer of learning and education. And that is what brought me to looking at your school.
Wow.
When I was looking for MFA programs.
Yo, that is so crazy. So I went to, private little white girl school. I call it white girl college. I love them dearly. And I remember I was going to the SETC and they gave me fences. The professors wanted me to at 18, 19 to do a Rose monologue, honey. I was like, yeah, sure. And that was my first contact with August Wilson and not even knowing the greatness of August Wilson, right? I didn't even know. They were just like, oh, here, go do this little play, right? Do this little monologue. Did not understand. And then I lived in the state of North Carolina and did not know about the National Black Theater Festival down the street from me until I came to Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow.
Yes.
Not down the street.
Yes. And so, like, the program here, the AATP, was really what I like to call my black college experience.
Right.
And me understanding myself and coming into my own as a black artist. Like, I would not be who I am today without it. Would not. And that's why, that's one of the reasons, like, last year during the pandemic, we took the certificate online because we're like, everybody needs this information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad. Look at God.
Look at God.
It's still working.
Oh my God.
So yes, I definitely want information about the certificate program.
Yes.
I need to know about this. That's number one. Number two, I ended up going to Penn State for grad school.
Okay.
And though I did not, I still in that PWI did not get the full, African American theater studies training that I feel like I would have wanted or gotten if I had went to like Howard or any HBCU or any school like yours that has this program. I did end up, getting back to your question, having the most enriching experience and working on the most important project to me to date, and that is Blood at the Root.
Okay, we're doing that next year.
Get out of here!
I'm in Blood at the Root. I'm playing.
Get out of here!
I'm playing Justin.
Get out of here!
I'm here. I gotta stay.
That's amazing. Well, I originated the role of Raisin.
Oh my
What?
God!
You didn't know that?
No.
Well, then you must not have a published copy of the play.
I have it right.
Because my name is in the front of that play.
Look, we got it right here. Hold on. It's
right here.
Open it up.
He literally just got his script today.
I have it right here.
Open it up.
I'm
Open it
open.
up.
I see it.
Who originated Raisin?
Stori Ayers.
That's what it says.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I love it.
So Penn State, in their MFA program, they commission a playwright to write a play for the third-year graduate acting class.
Yeah.
And Dominique was my class's commissioned playwright.
Okay.
And she wrote Blood at the Root for our class.
That's right.
And so me and my classmates originated those roles in the play. And usually it's sort of like your final performance thesis before you graduate. Mm-hmm. The commissioned playwright writes the play. And you perform it in your third year on the main stage at the school, and you graduate, and that's it. But at that time, all these sort of like amazing stars aligned, and the type of playwright that Dominique is, the type of artist that she is, the type of woman that she is, the type of activist that she is, she didn't just write a play and send it to us. She was like, no, I got to get in the trenches with these young people. I need to come down to the school. And so for the first year, we never got a draft of the play. She would come down and she would just do workshops with us. She would go to dinner with us. She would play games with us. She would like have difficult conversations with us. We didn't really know what was going on. And we were all like, where's the play? And we want our play. And but this is her process, so we were just going along with it. And then at the end of that first year, we got a script, and we sat down and read the script, and we saw pieces of ourselves, pieces of our conversations over the last year, pieces of our blind spots, our areas of growth, places where we needed to lean into about ourselves. It was one of the most revealing pieces and challenging pieces, because we were all just like shook after we read it and felt very betrayed. And so in all these like multiple different ways. And so it was like she took a real, told this story, and the play is inspired by Gina Six. And so she took that and she looked at, 6 artists and took who we were as individuals and places where we needed to places where we needed to grow. And then also knowing that she was writing commission for acting students, wanted to give us really meaty, like great acting scenes that we can really, roles we can sink our teeth into. She took all three of those things and wrote Blood at the Root. And we didn't just, because the play meant so much to us, it challenged us so much. And at the time it was very, it resonated deeply with us. Mm-hmm. We decided to, as a class, sort of form, like, I don't know what we were doing, but we was like, we got to keep doing this play. Doing it here on our main stage is not enough. And the head of our MFA program at the time, Steve H. Broadnax III, he completely supported us. So we ended up taking the play overseas to South Africa. Wow. And we did a tour of the play in South Africa. While we were over there, when we got back off the plane, we turned on our phones. Trayvon Martin had happened. And we were learning about it late because we were overseas, and because of the play and what was happening in our country, we was like, we got to keep doing it. And so then we ended up touring the play to all of the branch campuses. There's 24 and so throughout Pennsylvania for Penn State. We took it to some high schools in Pennsylvania. Wow. We took it to the Kennedy Center. And then after our senior year, we ended up going back to South Africa for a second tour that summer. We then went to Scotland for 2 months with the play. We went to Australia for 2 months with the play. And then everything ended with the run of the play in New York at the National Black Theater. And so we had graduated from school, but we were still very much so touring the world with our commissioned play and working together as a class an entire year after graduation. And ended up all of our first shows in New York being a play that we produced with the National Black Theater. And this story, everybody got their equity cards on the show. Like it was really meaningful, just touring the world, doing workshops around the play, and generating all of that energy ourselves. It was like we became a little small theater company around this one piece of work that meant a lot to us. And Dominique would always come to every country we were in. And so it was just a really special experience. It was, I have not experienced anything like it.
No, Story, how incredibly, rare and amazing. That's cosmic, Story. That's my word. That's my word for you. Incredibly rare and brilliant. Wow. And
I would say this about Justin, since you're playing that character. Justin was the character that challenged me the most. Dominique saw in me a couple of things. And at the time, I would, I would never say this and admit this about myself, but because I've grown, I can look back and say, oh, wow, that I grew so much by meeting Justin, and I learned so much about meeting Justin and got to correct some things in me through Justin. And so I will share this with you. I would say it's because of how I was raised or where I was raised or what I had seen. Somehow, when everyone met me, I had a very narrow and limited view and perspective of around how to define Black male masculinity. And so if it didn't show up in a very particular way, I was one of those people that would be like, you're not Black, you're not male, you're not masculine enough, you're not, and somehow, if the guy didn't dress a certain way, walk a certain way, talk a certain way, I was one of those people. Who stripped him of his masculinity and his Blackness. And that character, when I met Justin, though, Raylan and Justin don't even interact in the play. You know what I mean? It has it's not direct correlations in any way. You wouldn't really know how we were being challenged unless we as individual people told you. But that was my challenge. And when I met Justin and I watched my classmate perform that monologue to Toria, over and over again, over 200 times at this point. And sit on talkbacks with him and listen to him talk, listen to audiences talk, listen to men that I remember one of our first performances at the branch campus, the basketball team was there, and they resonated so much with Justin's monologue. And these were men that I would say, well, you are, you fit all those boxes that would, but they felt like they were experiencing this pressure to perform this Black male masculinity, to be accepted with each other on a basketball team. Like, it was a really incredible conversation listening to these brothers speak about their experience. And I sat there feeling ashamed and embarrassed, but that was the whole point, right? So that I could learn, see myself, see the blind spot, right? And I would just share that I learned so much from Justin, particularly from Black men, and around how we limit how we define masculinity and Blackness. And my spectrum of that has since broadened. It is, Blackness can be anything. We are not a monolith, masculinity can show up in many different ways. That is also not a monolith, but it took 200 performances in two years of performing the piece. I've now also directed the piece twice, professionally, that really, really just helped me grow up so much. And between that and Asha's line, just because people don't see things as fast as you doesn't make them your enemy. Listening to my classmate Kenzie say that to me over and over and over again really instilled in me a patience that I needed, particularly in dealing with my white colleagues, whether it's castmates or fellow collaborators. Particularly in these last couple of years, honestly, around all the EDI conversations in theater, just the patience it takes to have conversations with people who that are not your enemy, because they don't understand something yet. And just giving them a little bit of time and space so they can get there, but not demonizing the person and making them an enemy just because we're not on the same page. I was very quick to do that. And so, that was not that experience was so enriching to me. I've answered to answer your question, because I grew up so much as a person with that play, with that cast, under Dominique's tutelage and mentorship, and with Steve Brodnax as our director. I grew up, Stori matured, and understood something, and Oh
my God. Yo, that's so, I'm going to have to connect you. Hopefully you can, we'll zoom you in and you can come talk to our cast when they start or something.
Oh, I would love to.
That would be so great.
I need her to come to the show.
We'll invite you. It'll be great.
I would love to come to the show. And you know what? You should I can bring Brian Purvis to the show, one of the Genius Six. Me and Brian, he's one of the we've gotten really close over the years. Every time we would perform the piece, he would come out, and every time I've directed it, he's come out to see the show. He's talked with my cast. And so that's someone who I would love to connect you with. He's the only one of the six who has written a book about the experience from his own words. And that is a very interesting read. That you will not find that on Google. There are no reporters telling the story from his lens, mainly because they wouldn't allow them to talk to the media. Right. But still being able to get his story from him and allowing that to fuel you and impact you as an artist in the telling of this story. I mean, it's quite. It's quite amazing, and so I would love to connect you all with him as well.
Yes,
great, absolutely great.
Do you know Nefertiti Burton? That's our chair.
I do not.
Okay, Nefertiti's amazing. Yes. First of all, she was the chair down at Howard for a couple of years, and she came back and hang out with us. But she's directing Blood of the Root. But make sure I connect you two for sure. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, absolutely, yes.
And then one of the other cool things is like I didn't realize you went to Penn State because I feel like I run across so many amazing Black artists that come out of that program. Like I've run across Patrice McLean and I think Eric, is it Robinson? Eric?
Yes, Eric. You know Eric.
Yes, I run across these people just like when I see shows at regional theaters. You know, I'm usually working for them in the education department or something. I always try to go hang out with the cast. You know. And I got to meet Steve Broadnax once when they did Pipeline at CPH. That's where I met Bajorn. And I introduced myself, and I'm trying to get an interview with Steve. I put double pressure. Tell Steve I want to interview him. I already told Bajorn to tell him.
I will. I definitely will. Steve is incredible. Steve's great. He's amazing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So many incredible people. Yeah.
Ha! A little starstruck right now.
Please, you better stop. You better stop.
Could you name 3 people who have probably helped or influenced you on your journey?
Yeah, they don't even have to be people you know. But, I know we talk a lot about Dominique and Steve, but like...
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Dominique.
Yeah.
Definitely Dominique. I mean, most people don't know I was her executive assistant for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
After graduating school and moving to New York. So she's been a massive mentor of mine. Definitely Dominique. But I'll say, okay. Okay, so my mother is one. She has been... I don't even have the words. Like, I'm still trying to find the words to describe what my relationship with my mother is and how she has impacted me. But I want to say that my biggest supporter, but it's deeper than support. Like, I feel like there's nothing in the English language that could describe how my mother has sacrificed and given and encouraged and just poured into me. Since the day I was born, since the moment she knew I was in her stomach.
That's right.
You know, she's just been pouring ever since, and it's just endless. And I'd be like, "Ma, you not tired? You sure?" Because I needed a lot of emotional support, and she's always there. And so we talk every day, and she's with me through every moment, every step in my journey, in all aspects of my life. My mother is. My mother's there. And so she's just a huge influence and impact on me. And I would say Hilda Willis. Hilda Willis was who I went to go. This is all Black women. So that was Dominique, my mother, Angela Fields, and then Hilda Willis will be my third. Hilda Willis was who I went to go work with in that internship right out of school in Atlanta at True Colors. She was the director of education there at the time. And it was True Colors and Hilda Willis was my introduction to professional theater. And so I had my 3 years of school and then I was just out. I was in the world and I met her and she really helped lay a strong and healthy foundation. And all 3 of these women have never encouraged career climbing. They always, all 3 have always encouraged in me. And Miss Hilda was the first, one, the multi-hyphenate, number one, embracing all the gifts that God has given me. And 2, it's not about the next opportunity. It's not about, climbing to the top. It is about the journey, and it is about your purpose here on earth and your what is fulfilling to you as an artist and having dreams that are bigger than yourself. You should not be at the center of your dreams. And so that's a very controversial idea, but I would say that Ms. Hilda always she lived a life and she encouraged in those that she mentored to have dreams that give and feed those around you. You know what I mean? So like that you strive to do things with your art that is feeding your community, that's feeding other artists, that is in service. You are in a service position. It is not about you standing out in the front and the glory and the fame and the celebrity of it. It is about service. And if you can get that in your mind, no matter where you are or what you're doing, no matter what, tier you're working at, as long as you remember that you're there and in that space to serve the story, the other artists, the audience, this is a service job, then you won't go wrong. You'll never lose yourself. And so she just sort of implanted that in me very, 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 very early in my theater journey. And it has kept me grounded. And it has kept me focused. And it's kept me true to my purpose on earth. So I would say Hilda Willis is the last one.
Amazing. Look, these questions just be answering themselves. I'm gonna let you ask this one, but
I talk a lot.
It's okay.
It is fine.
Listen,
they didn't tell you.
You give them the gems. You
drop them.
You drop the gems.
Drop them. Drop them. So, do answer it. So, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career, similar to yours? Me.
Yes. Me too, honey. Me too.
Us.
And or like, what's something you wish you had known when you were young, right? Younger. Excuse me. I didn't mean to do that. Younger.
No, you're fine. No. I'm not worried about that. Let me tell you, this is what I'll say. This is the advice I'll give. The quickest way to mess yourself up is to be worried about what somebody else is doing.
Woo!
That is the quickest way to just...
Mike.
I gotta get to Kentucky, y'all. I can feel it. This has been calling me for years. I'm trying to tell you, this is a full circle moment.
Yes.
I'm telling you. I cannot tell you how when I have been at my worse, it's when I was thinking about what somebody else was doing. When I have seen people get in their own way, it's because they're concerned about what somebody else is doing. And that is like, it's something that I didn't quite fully really understand until I started doing yoga. And I am awful at yoga, and even though I do it more frequently than 5 years ago, I'm still bad at it. I'm bad at it, but the thing is, but mainly I'll tell you why I'm bad at it, because I stopped breathing.
You gotta breathe.
That's the thing. Like, you got to keep that breath going. And sometimes I'm looking, I'm like, why am I holding my breath? Right. And so I'm still working on that. But what I would do when I would go to a yoga class is they would, they call up the position, whatever, we're moving. And I would be watching everyone else in the class. And the teacher would say, stay on your mat. She would walk past me and she would say, stay on your mat. And the first couple times I'm like, I'm on the mat. Like, literally, I'm on my mat, But like, she saw me watching other people and feeling very insecure, and feeling like the worst one in the class, and just like not focused on my breath and not focused on where I am in the journey and where I am in this in this pose and in this flow. Like, I am so busy, I'm not even doing it because I'm so busy watching everyone else. And the practice of getting to the point where I go to a yoga class and you would think I was the only one in the room has been quite a journey, but it's very similar. It is very similar to what I'm talking about in theater, in your art, because the better I got at not worried about anybody else in the room, the better I got at the practice. Mm-hmm. The better I got at the flow, the more flexible I became, the better I got at my breath. And I'm still working, but I started to actually do the thing. Yeah. And get better at it and center and find the ease and the meditation and the peace when I wasn't looking at everybody else. I was like, okay, let me make sure my alignment, let me see what I'm doing. And once I was on my mat, that's when I started to grow. It's the same thing in the art. You can't find where you're supposed to be. You can't hear or see what's for you when you're worried about what somebody else is doing. Mm-hmm. We're all in process, and we all have different journeys. And no, there's no journey that's going to be like another. So why even worry about somebody else? Focus on what you're doing here today. Get what you need to get today so you can move on to the next day and not get in this cycle of repeating things because you're not really getting what you're supposed to get so you can move on. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Listen.
So that's a big piece a big advice I would give, honestly.
We literally just raised our hands in praise over here. I wish you could see us. I wish you had the FaceTime. Whoop, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Okay. We raised our hands in praise, honey. That's one of my favorite sayings. The way I like to say, I say compare and despair.
Oh, you said that. Compare and despair.
Compare and despair. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Go to the altar.
Not to the altar.
Go to the altar then.
I also like to share this advice. This was the advice that Dominique gave me my first day to work for her as her executive assistant. Back in 2014. I was with her for 5 years, but I remember the first day I went out to her Brooklyn apartment and we were sitting down and we were munching on snacks and talking about, what she needs and how to support her in the position. And we got to talking about the art and career and what she said to me that I never forgot. And it turned out to be the absolute truth. She said, if you between gigs, then you found the secret.
Say it again.
If you can figure out life in between the gigs, then you found the secret.
Okay.
So like when you're booked and you're working, that's one space you're in as an artist. But that space in between gigs, when you're auditioning and you're not getting cast, or you're taking meetings as a director and they're not hiring you, the playwright's not choosing you, or you can't even get the audition, or you're trying to get the agent, you're not booked. It's the space, the time and the space in between the gigs is where it is challenging. It tends to be the most challenging for us as artists.
Yes.
And figuring out life, figuring out that time for yourself is the secret. And I would say it's the secret to whatever you need. So for me, it's the secret to sustainability. And for you, it might be the secret to peace. You know what I mean? Like what you need to figure out, we're all different. So what you need to figure out in that space is very individualized. And for me, I found that figuring out how to stay creative is what actually keeps me in the journey long term. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm only an artist when someone gives me an opportunity to be an artist.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Hallelujah.
So yeah, I have found ways to still be creative and found ways to and have found for me what is most important to me about my art, so that I'm very intentional about what I do. So I can say no to many, many things and allow that space to be even longer. It could have been 2 weeks if I had said yes to that next gig, but I just said no to that gig because that doesn't fit the why or the purpose.
Yes.
And I don't need to say yes to everything. I need to say yes to the thing I need, so that space in between between gigs can get longer, but that's okay because I figured out that space. I'm still creative in that space. And I'm intentional about the gigs that I do. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, the doors of the church are open, y'all.
Come on, you better stop.
Yes.
You better stop. And I'm about to say no to a whole bunch of stuff so I can do this certificate program.
Come through.
Come down, please, Lord.
We got you. We got you.
Yes, Lord.
Also, okay, so before we get to the last part, oh my God, I don't even want to say bye to you. The last part of this fun interview, is there just anything that we haven't asked you today that you think people should know? Whether it's about an upcoming project that you have or a last piece of wisdom, anything.
Anything, I think, oh gosh.
Something I didn't ask that you want folks to know.
Oh my goodness, I don't think so.
Fair enough.
She said it all.
You said it all.
I dropped all the gems.
You dropped the gems. You dropped the mic. It's over.
Boom.
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to transition, and this is our favorite part. We love to wrap up with like 5 or so just silly, imaginative questions. Some of them we might judge you, no, not big time, but depending on what you say. Definitely. The first one we might judge you because me and Talib have an opinion about this.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Talib, hit it.
Okay. Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes. What? Pancakes.
Yep, she's a winner.
She's a winner.
We're keeping her. Okay.
She's going to the certificate. Give her the certificate. Just give it to her now.
Okay, wait. The double show. We asked Bajoran this one. Okay, grits, salt or sugar?
Sugar.
Okay.
What did Bajoran say?
He said salt. He said salt.
Of course he did.
Oh my God. Okay. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Like, I hate scary movies, so they always stick out to me.
Oh man, the scariest movie I've ever seen. I would say the Purge movies.
Ooh, I can't do it. I won't do it.
I love those movies.
It feels like what actually would happen in about a month or so. Do you know what I mean? It feels so real. Like, yeah, I would say the Purge movies are pretty terrifying to me.
Oh my God.
What is something that is really popular now, but in 5 years, everyone will look back on and be embarrassed by?
Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. I think
Yes.
I'm embarrassed now.
Popular is talking about it. In about 5 years, we'll be like, I can't believe I spent weeks talking about that thing.
Because we did. Because we really did. Okay? And
they're still talking about it. They're still talking about it.
And me, regular me, in Kentucky was literally consumed for about a week.
Oh yeah. Every day, every conversation. It's. I'm already embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed right now.
Right now. Okay. If you could, would you travel to the past and meet your ancestors, or the future and meet your descendants?
Past ancestors.
Wow.
How come?
I want them to know that I want to tell them that it was worth it.
Yeah.
I want them to feel, I want them to rest assured and at ease that, it's not, perfect. But the freedom has been found in many ways and we're still finding it. And I want them to know that. Okay. I want them to feel proud. If I am their dream, I want them to see their dream.
Oh, yes. Yes. Give Story all the flowers, please.
I can't hold all these gems. My bag's not big enough.
Oh my God. Story, can our listeners connect with you online anywhere?
Yeah, well, you know what? Yes. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
My Instagram, is it name or handle? I'm not, it's Story, Stori, time, Tyme.
Hey.
And I am on Facebook. My name's Stori Ayers.
Thank you so much, Story.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Everyone, this has been the African American Theater Podcast, The Beat, Black Experiences in Art and Theater. Thank you so much.